Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 2 of Top Rope Takes. I'm Jason Marcus along with Willie Thrill here. Willie, we had an awesome week here in pro wrestling. Money in the Bank, an epic Raw show. We had the fallout for Forbidden Door. So much to talk about today, but how are you?
I'm doing great. I want to thank everyone first off for supporting the first episode of Top Rope Takes. That was awesome. And for everyone listening right now, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you to hit the subscribe button below and
Yep.
hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on everything Top Rope Takes. Jason, I'm psyched for this week because there's so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about. We got two Money in the Bank winners, a men's and a women's. We got a big return. We got a heel turn. We got so much to talk about. But I guess we should start off with the most recent thing that happened. We're recording this the day after Monday Night Raw, and she's back. The Eradicator, Rhea Ripley, back, making her debut to close Monday Night Raw. Will, what do we think about the return to Rhea?
Let's go. I mentioned this last week about how I was enjoying the Liv Dom storyline, but at a certain point, I was just waiting for the moment for Mommy to return. And I think they struck at the perfect time with the return last night. The Liv Dom versus Ray and Zelina match was a lot of fun. There's moments in there where, Dom was landing in between Liv's legs. It was getting a little crazy. But what I loved about that main event was Dom. I feel like his main goal before even like eyeing up any sort of championships is to beat his dad. And he
Right.
hasn't been able to do that. WrestleMania 39, he loses to his dad. WrestleMania 40 this past year, loses to his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, he beats his dad, Rey Mysterio, the legend. And how does he do it? By teaming with Liv Morgan.
Yep.
So he's overwhelmed with joy. He's like, oh my gosh, I finally beat my dad. And it gets the best of him and he hugs Liv.
Yep.
And then Liv kind of straddles him and brings him down to the ground. So Dom's on top of Liv. And that's the moment. And I that was the thing. When I was thinking about this, I'm like, oh man, like they're really pushing it. Like they need Rhea back. And then boom, this is my brutality hits.
Yep.
She comes back and it was awesome. Just her presence alone. I don't know what her status is on her injury, but the fact that she was just able to come out
Right.
and confront Dom about this and Liv ran away, I thought it was a perfect way to end Monday Night Raw. And I mean, I can't say much more about it. It was just 5 out of 5, spectacular main event.
Yeah, she's a star. Her presence was sorely missed. I'm glad happy to have her back. We only have 3 weeks or so till SummerSlam, so this is going to be a quick build for all this stuff. But I imagine we're going to get her in Liv for the women's world title there. It's going to be great. I'm excited. I don't think the story ends at SummerSlam. I think this continues past SummerSlam. I think this program with Liv and Dom and Rhea and the Judgment Day is going to continue on for a long while after that. So I think this is just the start of another chapter with it. I'm very excited to have her back. Yeah, I thought it was great.
I do. I'll push back a little bit because there is only 3 weeks to build like Rhea versus Liv at like face to face, but this has really been building
Yeah,
since Rhea's been injured and the whole, revenge tour from Liv Morgan. So
yeah,
it does feel like without Rhea being there, it still feels like a long build for
right.
this match at SummerSlam, just through the Liv and Dom stuff.
No, I agree. I just mean like we're only going to get like what, two more TV or appearances or something like that from her,
I
three
guess so,
more
two or
maybe.
three. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, glad to have Rhea Ripley back. That wasn't the only thing that happened on Monday Night Raw. We had a confrontation to kick off the show with CM Punk and Seth Rollins talking about some fallout from Money in the Bank. Obviously, at the Money in the Bank pay per view, we were wrong. We were
We were way wrong.
way wrong, as were most people. In hindsight, maybe we should have saw this coming. But Drew McIntyre was the winner of the Money in the Bank briefcase. He then went in to cash it in later that night and during the Seth Rollins and Damian Priest World title match, made it a triple threat. But lo and behold, he was foiled once again by CM Punk. And so Damian Priest is still your world champion. But in the midst of it all, CM Punk inadvertently cost Seth Rollins his shot at the world title. And based on the gentleman's agreement he had made earlier with Damian Priest, he was never going to be able to challenge for the world title again as long as Priest is world champion. That obviously would be reversed later in the show, but still, we're not only building to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, but CM Punk and Seth Rollins. I thought this was a great promo to kick off Monday Night Raw. I think anytime you get Seth and CM Punk in a ring together, whether it's physically or on the mic, it's magic. I can't wait to see both of these guys lock it up. I thought it was a great segment.
Yeah, 100%. And the money here, I'll start with Money in the Bank. I think we call ourselves Top Rope Takes. And the
Yes.
reason why is because when you go on the top rope, it's high
Mm.
risk,
High risk, high
high
reward.
reward.
That's
So
right.
sometimes we'll, throw something out there and be right. I was bold with the Carmelo Hayes pick, even Jey Uso, but and I hate being this guy, but once the Money in the Bank match opened, I was like, okay, Drew actually does have a legit
Mm.
chance of winning because, he did promise he would cash in that night and become world champion. So when they started with the Money in the Bank, I was like, okay, I could see maybe where this is going. Drew
Yeah.
ends up winning and all that good stuff. And a lot of people have been saying, is the Drew cash in a waste? That has been a
Mm.
question on everyone's mind. Was this a bad cash in? And I don't think because you lose on your cash in means that it's like automatically a bad cash in.
Right.
Because I think this, out of all of like the bad cash ins or the failed cash ins, like this one actually drove a story forward.
Exactly. It
If
wasn't in
Yeah,
all every other instance that we've seen, it was like creative actually doesn't know what to do with you. So we're just gonna get it out. We're just gonna have you lose so we don't have to worry about it anymore. This had intention behind it as to why he was losing.
yeah, and there's been times where like Money in the Bank winners have won, and it's still like creative doesn't know
Right.
what to do with it. Like I think back like to like 2021 when Miz cashed in on Drew. Like they just wanted that to
Yeah.
get that out of the way. They was like, get rid of this briefcase. At least Miz has won it before, so it won't be that egregious. And then he just drops it later.
Yeah.
Like that's worse to me than Drew cashing in and like pushing a story forward, even though he failed.
Right.
So I'm not too mad about that. In a vacuum, I think it's a great story. I think where people are upset is because they hold on to this idea that like, they want the Seth Money in the Bank run, where it's like
Everyone loves a
you
good cash in. Yeah. I
everyone
mean,
loves like a guy who wins Money in the Bank, has a great run with the briefcase, then cashes in a meaningful moment and also has a meaningful title run. But
yeah.
that's a lot to ask for a Money in the Bank holder
Mm.
because I mean, even like a guy like Damian Priest, he wins last year and he holds on to it for a while. That's great, but they didn't really do a great job of building
Right.
him up to be a main eventer
Mm.
prior to his cash in. Whereas with
Yeah.
Seth all those years ago, they put him in matches with John Cena, Brock Lesnar. Like they were actively trying to put him in the main event scene before even cashing in the
Right.
contract.
Yeah.
So I can see where people were kind of like down on it, but I think ultimately this was a great use of the Money in the Bank briefcase.
I would say like 8 out of 10, 9 times out of 10, like you're gonna get a great moment from the Money in the Bank with a cash in and a new world champion. But you know what? Like you said, it furthers a story. And realistically, the biggest point that I saw and agree with is like your world champions right now are Cody Rhodes and presumably Gunther soon, right? They're not losing the title anytime soon. So what's the point of the briefcase? You're gonna have one of them be beat. Like this is the best thing you're gonna do with it. You also you have one on the women's side, so you're gonna get that moment anyway with Tiffany Stratton. So I have no issue with the way it was played out. I thought it was great. Um, I do wish, Carmelo Hayes would have gotten his due or somebody else in the match, Gable or an Andrade made a bigger star out of it. But again, I have full confidence in Triple H to figure it out. They're going to be fine. Yeah, I have no issues with how Money in the Bank played out.
Yeah, and I actually thought Chad Gable had like a standout performance in the match
Oh,
when
yeah,
he
for
was like
sure.
German suplexing ladders, when he's hanging from the top of the
Yeah,
briefcase. That was unbelievable, even though it just fell right down. It was still like this.
insanity.
He was like up there for a really long time, and I was
Yeah.
just impressed the fact that he was up there for so long.
Dude, he fell like, what is that, like 15, 20 feet on
It
his
was like,
freaking face on the
yeah,
literally, like, we know what rings are made of. Those aren't soft. That's like
yeah,
plywood. Like
yeah. No,
that.
it was insane. It was probably one of the
Insanity.
craziest bumps I've seen. I
Yeah.
mean, there's also we'll get to it later, but there's another crazy bump on the show.
Yeah.
Uh, As far as the Punk Seth stuff on Raw, I absolutely loved it. I thought this Raw had a great main event angle and also a great opening angle
Mhm.
where CM Punk, I feel like with CM Punk, he makes every single segment he's in like feel real. Like I feel like it's almost like it reminds me of like some UFC like press
Mhm.
conferences where like two guys are going at it, chirping back and forth. And the thing about Punk, when you're in the ring with Punk on the mic, you have to bring that energy. You have
Yeah.
to bring that, like, I don't care if I interrupt you right now, or like I can stomp all over what you're saying. If you don't bring that energy, CM Punk's just going to roll right over you. But
Yeah.
Seth Rollins came out and he held his own. He played that same level, and he was making great points about Punk because there is a lot of holes to poke into Punk. I'm wearing the shirt. I'm a big CM Punk fan,
Yeah.
but there are things about CM Punk that you can poke at, and I loved when he was like, "The world doesn't revolve around CM Punk." It's like I feel like that's the whole thing. Like with CM Punk, that's been awesome. It's like everything he does, it's like just to justify his
Yeah.
own actions.
Yeah. I actually want to push back there. I thought Seth didn't hold his own. I think he bested Punk verbally there. I think Punk was genuinely speechless at a lot of times and able to didn't really have a rebuttal for what he was going to say. So I thought Seth destroyed him on the mic, which is very rare when you're
Whoa.
going against
Wait
CM
a
Punk.
second.
No, yeah. I said what I said. I clipped that. Yeah, no, I thought Seth destroyed CM Punk on Monday Night Raw.
That's correct. I mean, look, I'm not gonna go that far. I do think I do think Seth did a great job of like playing into Punk's game on the mic. I think here's what I love about Punk is that like when Seth's doing his entrance, he just goes on commentary, gets on the headphones, and he just starts talking crap. Like he doesn't waste a moment when he's out there.
No.
When he's out there, he always has something to say. He's always jumping forward. But I think the reason why, maybe someone would jump to the conclusion that Seth's destroying on the mic, because even though he has those moments where it seems like he's just trying to like run over his opponent, he will give the opportunity to the other person to speak.
Yes.
You just have to come in with the firepower. And I thought Seth did a great job of doing that. I thought it was a great way to like reheat this feud that we were supposed to get at WrestleMania.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you were talking about with Punk is that he makes everything feel so real because he's like one of the few people in the history of the business that he never feels like he's talking off on a script, right? He's one of the people who's really good at like, these are the bullet points that we need to hit and do it in your own words and make it feel like genuine. I think he's really, really good at that. So I'm excited for whenever we get Punk and Rollins down the line. It may be a little bit, maybe soon. I'm not sure.
What do you think Rollins does at SummerSlam, though? Because I've had this conversation with a few people because I know it's going to be Punk and Drew. Is Rollins involved in that picture somehow, or is he going to get involved in another spot?
That's a really good question. A really, really good question. I don't know. I think,
yeah.
Is it wrong to insert him in a triple threat first before Punk and McIntyre have a one-on-one?
See, that's where this is where my dilemma comes in because I think a triple threat would kind of muddy the waters.
I agree.
This Punk McIntyre
over no title too,
Yeah, and the thing I would prefer to have Rollins wrestle on SummerSlam, but I wouldn't be opposed if he was like a special guest ref.
I was going to bring that up. I think him as a referee could potentially be a good option.
Yeah, because he has history with both guys, and I think it would add another layer to the Punk McIntyre match.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one of the biggest questions heading into SummerSlam is where does Seth fit into all of this? I'm sure we're gonna figure it out, relatively soon.
Because I think just to wrap this up, I think Seth Rollins, like I'm so used to him like almost needing to be on the card because like you kind of want that like
he's a big star.
He's a big star. He always puts on great matches, but I feel like WWE is at a point now where they have a lot of great stars and they can put together a lot of great matches without Rollins necessarily needing to be in one of those matches.
Right. No, for sure. Like they have so much depth. He doesn't need to be on the card, but like he also is, he's up there. He's up there with Roman as far as, your marquee guys. So he's got to be on the card in some. He doesn't need to be on the card, but he should be on the card.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about someone else who was in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Chad Gable was there, like you had said, had a stand-up performance, wrestled this past Monday Night Raw against the main event, Jey Uso. Jey Uso picked up the win with the help of the Wyatt Six. I guess, I don't know if we're calling her Nikki Cross or Sister Abigail or the Abby the Witch or whatever the hell we're calling her.
All the above.
All the above. But you know who we're talking about. She appeared again with another VHS tape for the Wyatts. What did you think about the latest segment we got here?
So real quick, this is kind of the one negative. I'll just get the negative out of the way. I really don't like how like the outside world of WWE is treating. I mean, I don't mean like the fans. I mean like the roster and like the commentators, how they treat the Wyatt Six. I feel like they can
Interesting.
add a little more gravity to the situation. When the lights are going out and Jey Uso just goes, yeet, like it's a funny moment. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie, but it does kind of downplay the seriousness of the threat of the Wyatt Six in
Right.
that case. And when Michael Cole, like, I don't know why his tone of voice when he was like, oh my gosh, the Wyatt Six or whatever, it reminded me of like when he was like, Baron Corbin has to eat dog food. And it's like I hate when Michael Cole gets to that voice where it's like so like
Yeah.
scripted WWE.
Mm.
So I think they could kind of add some more gravity to the situation and be like, oh no, it's
Yeah.
Nikki Cross or like it's
Michael
this
Cole's not
freaky
a
world. Like,
Michael Cole is not a good actor, but he's really good when he's playing into genuine emotion that he's feeling.
right. Yeah, yeah. He's again, this is not a dig at Michael Cole. He's a great
Yeah.
commentator. I just think in situations like this, he could be a little more like, oh no, like
Yeah.
be a little more serious.
Based in
Other
realism.
yeah. Other than that, I thought again the video was great. We got to see a better look at the family. Like
Mm.
we saw Joe Gate, we saw like the people behind the mask, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Dexter Loomis, I mean, that guy is transformed. Like he is almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
It's insane. He almost looks like Mark Briscoe meets like Vincent from The Righteous. It's like such crazy mix between the two. He and the eyes are crazy. I love that. Um, it was another great VHS segment. I am ready to move forward with the VHS things, and I thought that what happened later in the show with Adam Pierce
Mhm.
and like him walking in his office and seeing Bo there,
Yeah, what's that about?
I think that is the next step. Like I hopefully like we're kind of done with the VHS stuff. I'm ready to see the family in action. I'm ready to see Bo kind of be the one interacting in this world of WWE, not just in these VHS tapes.
Yeah, I agree. I think the VHSs are played out. I kind of thought they were played out by like week two. I think after the first one, I was like, all right, I get it. So yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited to see what the next chapter is. You know, we've established the Wyatts, we've established the family, who they are, kind of why we kind of got some backstory, not really. It was kind of all kind of, in a very Wyatt sense, muddled, you know,
There's a lot of
riddle,
poetry, you know, a lot
riddles
of
and
deeper meaning. Yeah,
poetry.
yeah.
So I'm kind of like, let's move the story along a little bit. So I'm excited. I was happy to see Bo in Adam Pierce's office. I wonder what that's about. Any guesses?
I think, well, what I like about Bo showing up is I would prefer, like, if he is going to interact in
Mm-hmm.
this world of WWE, that Bo is the one coming out. Similar to
Yeah.
like Firefly Funhouse Bray, where like you have someone, or even just normal Bray when he came back
Mm-hmm.
to WWE in 2022, where it's like someone you can have in the ring interact, and it's not like this spooky presence. It's just like Bo can have these genuine promo segments with Chad Gable or with whoever he's feuding with. And then for the matches, that's when he can transform into Uncle Howdy. Or if he attacks someone, that's when it's Uncle Howdy. Almost like this kind of,
No,
polarizing figure.
I agree. I think it's better than having just one like spooky figure consistently. Being able to have that alter ego that you can pull out for big matches or whatever, but having Bo being able to wrestle as himself, I think is a very smart decision. All right. Anything else on the Uncle Howdy stuff?
Um, Not really. I mean, again, like we're kind of at the point where we could start seeing
Hmm.
either Bo in the ring interacting with people or getting a more in-depth look at the family without it being a VHS tape.
Hmm.
I wonder what Pat McAfee's involvement is because all of these are being addressed to Pat, and also they have had like multiple things on the Pat McAfee show where the
Yes.
Wyatt Six has interrupted. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that. But
Yeah.
other than that, just got to move
Yeah.
forward.
I'm not sure how Pat ties into it. But we're gonna find out very soon. All right, so coming off a hot Money in the Bank, we had a lot of big headlines. We've talked about a few of them. Drew McIntyre winning the Money in the Bank. We had Tiffany Stratton winning her Money in the Bank briefcase. We had a great match, a car crash of a match. But honestly, probably the biggest headline both in WWE and outside of WWE coming outside of Money in the Bank. We're getting a John Cena retirement tour. John
Crazy.
Cena coming out in Toronto announcing that he will be wrestling from January to December of 2025 in a last run, but that this upcoming Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania will be his last. Obviously, John Cena is my childhood hero. Grew up watching him, right at the peak of his career. So a lot of nostalgia, a lot of feelings for me when with the thought of John Cena retiring, mostly the thought of oh shit, I'm old. Um, but yeah, I mean, listen, if you had to ask me who the greatest of all time is, I do think it's John Cena. So very sad to see that his career is coming to an end, even though we knew it was coming. But you know what? I'm excited for the year we're about to get from him, the run he's going to have, because rest assured, with Triple H and this machine behind him, he's going to check a lot of boxes, both for himself and for the fans, things that they want to see. I think they're going to leave. I think they're going to leave nothing on the table.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this run. I'm glad that John Cena can have like a proper run where he's
Mhm.
announcing ahead of time, like front to back, January to December. This is going to be my final year. And he's
Yeah.
treating it like he's going to be a full time guy. You mentioned 30 to 40 dates out of the year. That's like nearly once a week.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm sure he'll do like twice a week if he's like building up a pay per view. I'm curious to see like how this run goes because the past John Cena runs we've seen have kind of been like, a hollow
Lackluster.
versus it's been lackluster. We've seen like kind of a shell of who John Cena was in the past. I hope that they can treat, at least in the beginning, like bring John Cena up the card, like have him get some big wins against some younger guys and make it feel like, okay, we got John Cena back. Like this is John Cena's last run. This is a chance for WWE to finally have like a good retirement run. And
Mhm.
hopefully it's one that, stays in the book. He made it clear, like, I want to have this run so that I don't go back on my word and be like, you know, Ric Flair or Shawn Michaels, where like they say they're retired, but then they come back in the ring. And
Yeah.
in Ric Flair's case, he'll retire, come back in the ring, retire, come back in the ring. I still don't think Ric Flair is actually fully retired.
Mhm.
I think at some point this lunatic is going to wrestle some point again. He may even wrestle John Cena. No, that's
Right.
but
I'm glad you brought
um,
that up because I do think the closest thing that we've seen from this, and within the WWE at least, has been Ric Flair's like that whole "if you lose, you're retired," and then
yeah.
the whole WrestleMania 24 thing. But even that was, I mean, Flair kind of escaped by the skin of his teeth. I think one of the things that you brought up is his last couple runs that he's done that's felt lackluster because, quite frankly, he's been there to put over younger talent, right? He's losing a lot. I don't think that's going to be the narrative for this year. I think you're going to see Super Cena back. I think you're going to see Cena beating a lot of people. And I really hope, and truly, we don't get commentary. We're gonna get it, but I hope it's not a lot of commentary from the internet wrestling community of like, oh, Cena's burying the younger talent again, and oh my god, like when John Cena goes up there and beats Damian Priest, I hope people aren't like, oh, why would you do that? It's like, dude, it's his last run. Give the man his big wins over guys that are still going to be there for a little bit. That's fine. You can lose to the greatest of all time. There's no shame in that. You're gonna be fine. I'm very excited for it. One of the things I'm really interested to see is he's not retiring at WrestleMania, right? Which is where like you would think like legends like him would have his last match. So what is the story that we get? Because truly after his last WrestleMania, he's still got 8 months after that. So I don't. So how do they tell that story of ending his career not at the biggest stage?
I'm curious to see how that goes too. Before I get into my prediction of what may happen, I do think like wrestlers are going to be jumping over themselves to try to even wrestle John Cena. So if
To
they have to
lose to
lose,
John Cena.
exactly, they will lose to John Cena. Like they will
Yeah.
willingly do that because I think in the past, like just people didn't have the faith in WWE to build guys who would lose to John Cena after the fact.
Yeah.
So it was because it was a constant history of like, Rusev or even Bray Wyatt or Umaga way back in the day.
The
Like just people who
Nexus.
the Nexus is a great example. Just people who John Cena would just destroy and then they wouldn't have any plans for after. I think
Yeah.
with this run and with this new regime, people will have more faith that, okay, even if John Cena beats this guy,
Mm.
there's a reason for it. There's a
Yeah.
plan in the end for someone to get over against John Cena or someone to,
And he's not
just
going to beat
get to that next
everybody.
level.
He's not going to go from like 0 and 34 to like undefeated over the next year. He's going to lose over the course of the next year, but when it makes sense, right? Like he's not going to just lose to Austin Theory for no reason, you know? Like
Yeah, that was
that was
stupid.
so dumb. He should have beaten him anyway. um, but you know what I mean? Like if he's going to lose, it's going to lose because he's going to lose to a main event player that they have plans for.
Mhm.
I'm excited. I love John Cena, greatest of all time. Nobody's done it better for longer. Um, who is John Cena's biggest rival, in your opinion?
I was looking forward to this conversation a lot. And after
Because
this, I
there's a
do want to,
lot. There's a
there's
lot.
a lot of great rivals, and I'm curious to know your answer because, and you mentioned when we were going back and forth, you were like, okay, we can debate about John Cena's biggest rival. And I think biggest rival and best rival are two separate conversations.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I think his biggest rival objectively is The Rock.
I agree
Because
with
like
that.
that is like on a grand scale, who
Yeah.
are the two people that if you
Yeah.
ask anyone, wrestling fan or not, who do they know in wrestling? John
Yeah.
Cena and The Rock. And the fact
Yes.
that they were able to have that like 2 year promo back and forth along with, wrestling twice in the lifetime thing.
Right. Certainly his biggest rival in terms of like outside of WWE mainstream media coverage. If you, yeah, 100%
Yeah.
it's The Rock.
The reason why I like push back on maybe him being the best rival for John Cena is because while I think you could say The Rock is the biggest rival for John Cena, I don't think John Cena is the biggest rival for The Rock. I think it's obviously Stone Cold.
Yeah.
So I feel like it has to, like, if I'm picking John Cena's best rival, it has to be a mutual relationship where John Cena's biggest rival is this person, and this person's biggest rival is John Cena.
We 100% have the same answer to this question, but we'll continue going.
Do we? I mean, maybe. But here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
John Cena, what I love about John Cena, especially like when it got to like the 2010s, was he was a great commentary on wrestling at the time because it was, in a simple term, he was, if you put Hulk Hogan in a modern era of WWE, where kayfabe is dead, where there's drug testing, so you can't be on steroids, and you just had to have, all you were based on was your promo skills and your merit in the ring. And because John Cena, let's just be real, he wasn't as polished as some of the wrestlers at the time.
Yeah.
People pushed back on him getting this major run, like the Superman-esque run. So who is the best antithesis for John Cena? Who is the best rival for John Cena? It has to be someone who is the opposite of all that. It's the guy who's unconventional. It's the guy who I'm wearing right now on the shirt. It's CM Punk. It's clear.
Do not have the same answer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about CM Punk. Like, not only is he a great rival for John Cena, let's go down the line. He did the opposite of John Cena. He was on the independent scene. He was in ROH. He got cred with the fans before coming to WWE. Then when he was placed in WWE, everyone was clamoring for him to get a better push than he already was. He was almost like the symbol for, we don't want John Cena. We would rather have guys like CM Punk.
Certainly.
And when they got on the mic together, it's still my favorite match of all time, Cena versus Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. Because I was 11 years old thinking like CM Punk was actually going to like leave and like, take the title with him. The funny story, I went over my friend's house for a sleepover. And I was like, and I still like knew that wrestling wasn't scripted, whatever. But there's this part of me that's like, all right, so Punk's going to play along with the match. But then at the end, he's going to like shoot on John Cena. And he's going to like actually like try to take the title. And so he's going to have no way out. He's going to be forced to tap. And then he's going to hijack WWE. It was a ridiculous thought at the time. But I just loved how the storyline made me think that way. It made me think like, oh, snap, like CM Punk is leaving. He could really just like hijack this whole thing, take the title and run away.
Yeah, it blended reality and story so well because his contract really was expiring. If I'm correct, I believe when he won that WWE championship at Money in the Bank, he still had not signed the contract until the day after. If memory serves.
It was like the day of or the day after.
Okay.
It was like very close. I remember he signed like a 1 or 2 day extension so he could get to Money in the Bank. And then they did the contract where he was like, okay, I'll do another 3 years.
Yeah.
And also here's another thing, because I have a feeling I know your answer. All right. There's a couple people that it could be. But the reason why I'd pick Punk over, let's say, an Orton, an Edge, even a Lesnar, Cena and Punk never had a bad match. You go back to Money in the Bank 2011. I think a Night of Champions 2012, the draw, that was incredible. Raw 2013, when Cena hits a Hurricane Rana and Punk hits a pile driver, like they're going insane. So I think between like those three matchups and just their like dynamic between the two, it Cena's greatest rival has to be CM Punk.
Listen, I can't hate on that answer. It's a good answer. I mean, listen, when you're the top guy for 25 years, like you work with every single other top guy, so there's so many options to choose from. I mean, like you said, I think his stuff, people from his early days, right? Like his stuff with Kurt Angle. I mean, Kurt Angle has a legitimate answer to be his greatest rival of all time, just for literally being the guy to introduce him to the WWE. They did this stuff in 2005 together. Brock Lesnar is up there from their stuff in like the early 2000s. Fast forward to like the 2012s, they work together again. Chris Jericho is up there. You have, with they're all stuff from 2005. You have Randy Orton up there. You have stuff later like AJ Styles. You got The Rock. Every top Triple H, Shawn Michaels, like all these guys have worked with Cena and all have a real legitimate argument to be his greatest rival. But I think one of the reasons you picked Punk is because it ties into your childhood a little bit. There's some nostalgia there as well. And so for the same reasons I'm going to do this, I'm going to pick my person. I think his greatest rival of all time is the rated R superstar Edge. And here's my reason for it. When I think of Cena Punk, yes, they had their match on Raw. To me, when I think back to that time, it's a one-match program. It's Money in the Bank 2011. I don't know if they wrestled on pay-per-view again.
They did SummerSlam 2011.
Okay. I don't remember that match at all.
Okay. It was a good match, too.
I'm sure
it wasn't a bad match, but...
But also, again, this is the reason I'm picking Edge is because, number one, it elevated both guys. It took Cena to a credible place because coming out of this, he was wrestling JBL and Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle, and that was great. He was, still kind of weaning off of the Dr. Thugonomics stuff, right? He was like a baby face, but this was like unleashed a different side of John Cena, a more aggressive side, and also had a story that went along with it that went from like from like New Year's Revolution 2006, right? Cena defends the title in the Elimination Chamber. Edge cashes in the very first ever Money in the Bank to win his first WWE Championship. They have a match at the Royal Rumble this year where Cena wins it back, and then they go back to SummerSlam. And that's the whole stuff where Edge invades John Cena's dad's house and slaps John Cena's dad. They have that match with the brass knuckles, so Edge retains. They have the whole Rob Van Dam stuff in between there. And then they cap it off with arguably the greatest TLC match, one-on-one TLC match of all time, at Unforgiven in Toronto. Cena and Edge, Cena with the attitude adjustment off the ladder through two tables. I think the program, the amount of quality matches and the iconic matches that the feud gave us, the moments the feud gave us, what it did for both superstars. And like you were saying earlier about, is Edge John Cena's greatest rival? Well, yeah. And I also think that John Cena is Edge's greatest rival. So I think for me, it's Edge. Randy's up there too, but I kind of feel like they, in a moment in time, Cena and Edge needed each other more than like a Cena and Orton needed each other. I kind of felt like Cena and Orton were both made at that point, but like Edge at this point in his career had never been a world champion. This was his first ever world championship program, and he's now like a 12-time world champion. And then Cena, this was like his first really big like story. Big like the whole JBL, the Chris Jericho stuff was clearly like just like feeding stuff to Cena for Cena to go over and build his credibility. This was the first time where you were like, I don't know if Cena's actually going to win this. And he obviously does end up winning the program. But yeah, for me, for all those reasons and the fact that that was like my childhood, I think Edge is the greatest John Cena rival.
And I do think that plays a lot into who you think Cena's greatest rival is the childhood aspect of it, because you make a great point. And the point I want to make about Edge and the argument you can make is that commentary about John Cena, where he's like, a polarizing figure because maybe the work rate is the first guy to really like step in and cause those kind of like indifferent reactions to Cena, where people might have soured on Cena, was around that 2006 time when, he was holding onto the title forever and he would just win matches, but Edge would come in and kind of call him out on it. And I think that's why that TLC match is so awesome is because you finally got a crowd that was like full on behind the bad guy,
Yeah.
full on against Cena. And it also brings one of my favorite like types of Cena matches, which is away game Cena.
Yeah.
Like that's why I love Money in the Bank 2011. That's why
Yep.
TLC 06. That's why his match with Rob Van Dam at One
Mhm.
Night Stand is so awesome because when you get John Cena in a crowd where everyone hates him, it is just
He is the
unbelievable.
best.
He has the best composure. He is like, it's so admirable the way he's able to walk in. He's not doing his normal Cena shtick. He
Yeah.
knows like not to do that, and he's just like dead on in the zone. It's like locked in Cena, and
Yeah.
then he gets all these people chanting "You can't wrestle," and he's like, "All right, bet." And then he'll go on. He'll do these crazy moves. They'll be like, "Yeah, but you still suck," and then he'll
Yeah.
just keep going. He does not care about the crowd. He's just like, he's got the blinders on. He's focused in on having the best match possible, and he always delivers away game Cena.
Yeah.
So I'm not, again, I think Edge is a great answer. I think CM Punk plays into a lot of my childhood, but I do think as far as the promo battles back and forth, I think that's also where I give the edge to Punk Cena
Yeah.
because some of those, like, anytime they go back and forth on the mic, even when this past weekend when he was on the press conference, he was like, I got nostalgia for Cena going over his time. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh man, dude, this has to happen. Like,
Yeah.
just to bring this all back to our predictions for what will happen on the final Cena run,
Mhm.
I do really want to see Punk and Cena one.
Oh, we're gonna get it.
The
We're gonna
fact that
get
he
it.
teased it
If CM Punk can
on the
remain
show,
healthy, we're gonna get it.
exactly, that's my biggest fear because like they definitely want to do it. It's just can Punk stay healthy? Can Cena stay healthy? Because you get ring rushed a bit and you come back maybe
Punk's got to get through what
whatever.
3 matches minimum at
Here's the thing, like
SummerSlam.
if they have like a plan to do Punk Cena, do not put Punk in any crazy match. Don't put him in any
You got to do
no
the Drew
DQ
stuff first,
matches.
though.
You got to do the Drew stuff. You got to do the Rollins stuff. I get that, but try to limit his match again. 3 matches, maybe
Yeah.
most. But you want to do, and the thing is, if he does get injured, you still have a whole year. You still have January to December.
Yeah.
If he gets injured somewhere in between that, as soon as he comes back, get the Cena match out of the way, and
Right.
then you can
Right.
move
Right.
on with
Right.
whatever you're doing with Punk.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be tough because I mean we're kind of going on a tangent now, but like has CM Punk wrestled more than one match before getting hurt in the last 3 years?
I mean, the
I don't think
collision
so.
run,
I
the
think he's got
collision
hurt.
run was weird. Like
Yeah.
he had matches then,
Yeah.
but even then, like,
I think
yeah,
his
it's
program
tough.
with MJF was the last time he had like a couple matches and then was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I listen. Point is, I would love CM Punk and John Cena one more time, and I know they both want it. I know the fans want it, but let's get through this Drew stuff before that's a real possibility.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
let's transition into that right away. Like, what do you think this Cena run entails? Who do you want to see Cena face
Yeah.
in this upcoming run?
Good question. Certainly you want to do a mix, right? You want to do a mix of playing the hits. So CM Punk, obviously, as we talk about, Randy Orton, certainly, all the veterans that are there. And I mean, those are the big two, right? Like, can't think.
Styles.
Yep,
I'd love to
AJ.
see that again.
Yep. But I think for me, what's more exciting is him with the newer class. I really want to see John Cena and Gunther.
Yes, 100%. I'm with you there.
And
That was my first thought.
Yeah, and that's one of them where I'm like fine with Cena taking the L. I think he can lose to Gunther there. But I definitely
Cena's not winning that match. No
he
way.
shouldn't win that match.
Yeah, no way.
I would love to see that. I think, listen, I know everyone wants to see Cena and Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and I do too. I think because it doesn't end at WrestleMania, his career, like his last match isn't at WrestleMania. WrestleMania needs to be a high watermark for him. Is it out of the picture that at WrestleMania 41, we get The Rock versus Roman Reigns, and we get John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, and John Cena wins the 17th world title from Cody? I don't think it damages Cody that much for him to drop the title to Cena and then win it back quickly. Mm-hmm. But for him to break the 17th world title from Cody at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas and then have the rest of the program and do the rest of the stuff, That kind of feels like the right direction.
I love that. I had the same exact thought as you. I think if you do Rock Roman and Cena Cody, that's like an electric WrestleMania. You can't miss with that mania. Those two
Yeah.
are headliners, bona fide through and through. You said Cena wins the 17th title at WrestleMania, but again, what do you do from then to December? It's interesting. You said have Cody win it back. I'm going to throw out a top rope take here.
Okay.
Cena Cody at Mania. Cody wins from low blow when the ref isn't looking.
Oh, you're
Turns
turning
heel.
Cody heel?
Turn Cody heel.
No,
It would
stop
be
it.
hold on. It would only be for a brief period of time. It would be similar to when they wanted to turn Cena heel against The Rock. Because you could have like just Cena is gonna be the bona fide good guy in all of this. Like
Is he?
dude, people have too much respect for him now. I don't think he's gonna get the Cena sucks thing. I think especially if people do want to see Cena win the 17th world title. Let's make that clear. People want to see that. So what do you do to turn Cody heel? You have to take away something the people want. And Cody is an electric heel. And the reason why it would work is because Cody wouldn't be playing like the bad guy heel. He would be playing AEW Cody. He would be like, guys, I'm still the good guy. He'd be Homelander, which is what we've wanted to see from Cody this whole time. So you just have Cody still be like within his morals, but he's gotten to a point where like I'm willing to do whatever it takes to hold on to this title because I'm representing the kids. I'm representing the families. Cena, you've had your time, but now it's my time. And again, you can have that moment where Cena does chase the title. He eventually does win the 17th, and then they come together and they embrace, and then that pretty much, undoes the run. It would just be for the short period of time, but I would love to see a short Cody heel run against John Cena.
I will applaud your boldness. It is certainly a
This
top
is
rope
top rope
take.
takes. Let's
It's
go.
certainly off the top rope. I will meet you in the middle. I will say if they were to theoretically do a Cody Cena Mania program, I certainly could see Cody leaning into more of a heel-ish side where he's poking fun at John. He knows he's kind of what John Cena is really good at, right? He knows when he's the bad guy in the situation, he kind of leans into it a little bit. But where you lost me is like cheating to win. I don't think because realistically, you spent 2 years. This will be 3 years at this point, building up Cody Rhodes as your top baby face of the entire company. And once Cena's gone, you still need a top baby face in the entire company. I don't think you can have Cody Rhodes cheat the greatest of all time to win that WrestleMania and then have him continue to be the baby face of the company. I think it's fine to poke fun at him at promos and make fun of his bald spot and his old age and whatever. But I think once the match comes, if you're gonna lose or if you're gonna win, it's got to be clean and it's got to be a fair fight. So that's where I'll meet you in the middle. But I don't see Cody going full heel ever.
I and
Not
I
ever
I
soon, anytime soon.
I do think you make a good point about him overtly cheating. I think, and I wish I had like an example to pull from because I know this has happened in the past where like something will inadvertently happen where like something happens to Cena. I'm trying to think of like a good example of that, but like something will happen inadvertently to Cena and Cody will just pick the scraps, but it won't be like he's the one cheating. That might be how you do it. And then that's where Cody's morals come into play. Like, guys, I didn't cheat. Like, you guys still love me, right? And then people are like, let's go see, all that. So I'm curious to see where it goes. But I think we're both in agreement. Cena versus Cody, Rock versus Roman. That's an electric 2-night main event right there.
Yeah, I agree. Some other people real quick on the Cena retirement run. I want to say him versus LA Knight, him versus
we never got that, did we?
Nope.
Yeah.
Him versus Carmelo Hayes, I think would be great. Him versus who are some of the other big names? Drew McIntyre.
How about some of the NXT guys? Him versus Trick.
Yeah,
would be great. Him versus Javon Evans.
I would not rule out in this retirement run him going to NXT for a little bit.
You could do a quick run there if there's like a lull in a certain spot. and he's like kind of, wants to do something. I think it would be a fun run, like a 4-week run where he's just wrestling guys, doing promos.
I could see him versus Trick Williams at a NXT PLE. It's good for business, right? Because you're never gonna have more eyes on NXT than you do for that. You're gonna elevate Trick Williams. I think that makes a lot of sense. There's so many things. I mean, him versus Seth Rollins again, who's also up there for one of his greatest rivals.
Are you gonna say his name?
Joe Hendry? No,
could you
I'm
imagine
sorry.
that? The
No.
two best theme songs sung by the wrestlers.
Don't come for me for this, but I have no interest in John Cena versus Joe Hendry.
Okay. Well, no, I don't blame you there. But it would be. I'm not gonna. That's like a long shot, but
Yeah,
it's an interesting one.
we'll see what he does if he's on NXT, maybe. Anyway, all right, that's John Cena. Looking forward to his.
One more though.
Yeah.
Him and Braun Breaker needs to happen.
Oh yeah. 100%.
That's a lock.
Maybe him and Lesnar again. We could do this all day.
Yeah.
We could do this all day.
100%. Yeah, I mean that might be a separate video in of itself. Of
Literally.
just matchups.
Yeah. All right. So what else happened at Money in the Bank?
Let's go to. I want to go to Braun Breaker since we mentioned his name.
All right, great.
How we were both insanely wrong about Braun Breaker winning the Intercontinental Championship.
We were like, "There's no way Braun Breaker's not winning the Intercontinental." Anyway, so yeah, we were wrong, but it was a great match. Sammy retains. We got to stop betting against Sami Zayn, I guess, because he's beating Gunther and Braun Breaker this year. Braun is great. I love Braun. The championship is still very much in his future. He came out this past week on Raw, attacked Sami Zayn again, so that program is very much still alive. He also touched Ilya Dragunov. Triple threat at SummerSlam. Is that what we're getting?
Maybe I would prefer if they did Braun and Sammy at SummerSlam. Braun wins, and then they do Braun Ilya at Bash at Berlin.
I can see that.
But I think if they're gonna do a rematch, then Braun has to win the rematch because I don't mind that Sami Zayn won. I think it was a interesting wrinkle in this whole thing. I don't think a lot of people were kind of down on it because again, it's Braun Breaker. They see him as a Brock Lesnar type, someone who shouldn't lose like that easily. But again, that also plays into Sami Zayn's character, and it's going to add a lot of drama to the match that they have at SummerSlam, where like now people are like, "Oh, we can't count out Sami Zayn."
Right.
So I'm not entirely. I was against it when it happened, like initially, because I was like, "Oh man, like they might have just blown it with Braun." But I have faith in this regime that they're gonna give the title to Braun at SummerSlam, and then you go from there, and then people will basically forget the fact that he lost to Sami Zayn, and then you can also use that down the line when Sami Zayn wants to fight Braun Breaker, like, hey, I have a pinfall against you. And that's not something a lot of people can say.
I think the difference between the Triple H regime and like the Vince McMahon regime in the past would have been under Vince, if he had booked Sammy to beat Braun, I don't think there would have been a follow-up match. I think Braun would have taken the L and they would have moved on to something else. And that something else could have been like, we're not sure what to do with you, so we're going to throw you in a tag team with Baron Corbin. You're going to toil in the mid-card, and then you'll probably be done. Obviously, that's not the direction this is going. They're very much continuing the program, so I have full confidence that Braun's going to get his win back, and I don't think this damages him at all.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So what else on this Money in the Bank card? We had already talked about the World Heavyweight Championship match where Drew cashed in, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Tiffany Stratton won women's Money in the Bank in a great match. I'm excited to see what she does there. I assume she's going to cash in on Bayley at some point. I personally can't wait for the Tiffany Stratton. Oh, I want to talk about this. Hold on. Before I get to that, where I was going to go with that. Tiffany Stratton teased a little program with Trish Stratus at Money in the Bank. And you know what's really funny is my dad, who's a casual fan, was watching like around like WrestleMania time when like she first got caught up to the main roster or whatever. And he was like, "Is that Trish's daughter?" and I was like, "No, Stratus, not Stratton, not Stratus." But the similarities are clearly there, right? Fitness model who wasn't really like a wrestling fan, brought up, just has a natural athletic ability, blonde. The parallels are there. That's a match I want to see. I want to see Trish come back and versus Tiffany. And then the other one I was going to say is obviously Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair.
I think both of those are in the cards at some point. Definitely Tiffany versus Trish,
Mm,
probably sooner than later because they teased that. That would be a great SummerSlam match. It's
mm,
a marquee match for Tiffany Stratton. And
mm.
that'll also, that'll put her up on another level where
Yeah, if you
she's
can beat
like on that.
Trish.
Exactly. That's like your main event status, basically. You mentioned her cashing in on Bailey. I think Tiffany Stratton might be a longer term Money in the
Yes.
Bank where you don't, maybe Bailey might not even have the title by the time. And they've also had this thing with her and Nia Jax. I wouldn't be surprised if Nia at some point won the title and then Tiffany cashed in on Nia and then you get
Mm,
a little program there. Charlotte Flair is another great one. I'm curious to see when she comes back because I think her and Tiffany Stratton would have like a pretty fun match. Very
if
athletic, both of them.
if we're fantasy booking this and Tiffany and Trish is SummerSlam, Tiffany and Charlotte's WrestleMania.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see somewhere in between. Tiffany cashes in and becomes world champion, and then that's her world championship match.
But the thing is, they love building up those Charlotte Flair reigns. I wouldn't be surprised if like Charlotte came back, won the title, Tiffany cashes in on Charlotte, and then so Tiffany has the title, and then you have Tiffany and Charlotte, and
Right.
then
It's all
Charlotte
about who's
wins.
coming in as champion. Yeah.
Exactly, and they need to get Charlotte to 100,000 championship reigns. So they
Yeah.
gotta come on, let's go.
God, we're gonna get her and Cena both winning 17th world championships.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. That'd be fun.
And then the other big match of the Money in the Bank card we haven't talked about is this six-man tag match: Cody, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton versus the Bloodline. We were correct in a sense that it was going to be. We didn't know if officially who was going to be on the Bloodline, but thank God, Tonga Loa was not involved because
Man, that guy's catching so much heat on.
they were just like, I think they like Tama Tonga a lot. And he was like, if you're going to sign me, you got to sign my brother. And they're like, all right, whatever.
They're like
We'll put you in a
Camacho.
suit, but you're never wrestling again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You remember when he used to come out on the lowrider bike?
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately.
Back in the day. Jeez Louise. But we were right about the fact that Solo pinned Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like that it was the main event because it did give you that inkling of like, oh, maybe this is when Roman returns. But I do like the fact that you gave Solo the win. Jacob Fatu looked awesome when he no-sold Randy Orton's DDT.
Yep.
That was incredible. And guys, Samoans have strong heads, so there's justification for it. It's not like some random
Yeah.
self-fighting spirit thing. There was a reason for it. Uh, Overall, and again, like it wasn't the best main event. It was kind of it, but it's supposed to be build up for the SummerSlam main event. So
Yeah.
that's what I appreciated about it. It got you, not necessarily excited, but like looking forward to, okay, we got Cody and Solo, and who knows what could happen. Hopefully, that's when we see the return of the tribal chief.
At the end of SummerSlam,
Yes.
I think it's possible. What's right after SummerSlam?
Or maybe not right, maybe not after. It could be even during the match. Like Solo's on the verge of winning. They hit the music.
Mm-hmm.
You get Roman with clean shaven Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
We're back.
I don't know. I feel bad for Solo. I'm just not into him as the the head of the table, the tribal chief, whatever. Like, man, dude, like I don't know what it is about him, but maybe it's the fact that he lost like 34 matches before all this, and then he has the nerve to be like, "Well, Roman didn't beat Cody at WrestleMania, so."
Yeah, it was a little much, and I also don't think it helps that they have a better Solo Sikoa and Jacob
Literally,
Fatu
I was like, "Can
like
we get
right
Cody
next
and
to
Jacob
him.
Fatu at SummerSlam?"
I think the reason why I'm fine with Solo having this run right now is because eventually I'm pretty confident that Jacob Fatu is going to supersede Solo Sikoa at some point, and so let Solo have this run. Let him, do this thing as the tribal chief. You get a compelling story out of it, and that way you have another guy built up, so that when Jacob Fatu enters the fold, then you could have that's another big matchup where he faces Solo Sikoa,
I just had a
Roman,
big
Rock.
brain moment.
Is this a top rope take here?
I don't know if it's top rope take,
Okay.
but I'm gonna call it top rope take. We're gonna get a Bloodline versus Bloodline War Games match that we talked about, but Solo's gonna be on Team Roman.
Whoa. That is a top rope take right there.
It's
Whoa.
gonna
How do you get there?
so it's 5-on-5. So you got the OG Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, the Usos, and Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline 2.0, led by Jacob Fatu, Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, Tala Tonga, aka Hikaleo, and The Rock.
The Rock and War Games. That's crazy. What I would love, here's what I would love,
Yeah.
is if they didn't even announce like Rock was going to be there, and
Mm,
it was like a 4v5, and
yeah.
it's like, wait, we got one more guy to enter, and then the Rock's music hits, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh snap, like this just got real.
Yep.
That's an interest. Hey, I don't hate it. I
The
don't
Rock
know
doesn't
how.
necessarily fit into that Bloodline 2.0 like story, but if he's
Right.
the heel, he's got to be on the heel side.
Yeah, and man, I do think they're gonna have to do Roman and Solo at some point before they get to the point where
Yes.
Solo joins forces with Roman again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't like if Roman's going to return at SummerSlam. The clear match there is Roman and Solo. I don't think they blow that off and just go, you know what? Screw it. Let's get
Yeah.
Solo back in the OG
No, no, no,
bloodline.
no. You got to tell the Roman Solo story, but then once that's done, you got to tell the Solo Jacob Fatu story, and then once that's done, maybe you can start to play around a little bit, and Solo comes back to with his tail between his legs. I don't know. We'll
There you go.
see.
Maybe
Probably
next
won't
year.
happen. Maybe next year. But that could be a good spot if we're gonna do Rock Roman at WrestleMania. That's a good middle, building point to the one-on-one match. Or it's an after thing. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Solo beats Cody in the main event that we predicted. Is he gonna beat him at SummerSlam? No. But
Well,
yeah.
I just hope not. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else on that? Because I don't really have anything else.
This is a point I wanted to mention just
Hmm.
real quick. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the Solo Cody thing, but as far as the Bloodline is concerned, I want the Bloodline and the Cena retirement tour to be completely separate. I don't want that. I don't
Mm.
want any interaction between.
No, I
I'm
don't think
kind of
so.
over it. Maybe you could do Cena Fatu later in the year, but other than that, I have no interest in seeing Cena involved with any Bloodline stuff.
I think it's more likely you see Cena and Solo since there's precedent there.
Fair, but
He
even then,
hasn't
I
gotten his
really
he
I
hasn't
don't.
gotten his win back.
I have no desire to see it. So
I can,
unless it is like a one time thing where Cena beats Solo to get his win back, I
yeah,
really I think it's better off like it's better business to have a Bloodline thing and a Cena thing separate because now you have two things that you could sell a show on.
if I'm booking Solo's path for the next year or whatever, he's got a program with Cody, followed by a program with Roman, followed by a program with John Cena, program with Fatu, and then face turn.
All right, we'll see if that comes
We'll
to
see what
fruition.
happens.
Yeah.
All right, that's Money in the Bank. We also had another show this weekend. We had NXT Heatwave. I watched all of this. I thought it was a great show. The tag match was great. But the big story coming out of the night is we have a new NXT champion after 6 weeks. All Ego is now the NXT champion. All Ego Ethan Page, your new NXT World Heavyweight Champion. I did not see this one coming at all. But I'm actually think it's the right decision because I don't think Trick needs the title. And I think if Ethan didn't win the title here, he was gone 6 weeks in and gone, and he was done after this. He really needed this, and it was a good feel-good moment for him in his home country of Canada. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with it. But yeah, congratulations to Ethan Page.
Were you nostalgic for the Backlash '07 finish
I
where Trick
was. I
hits the
did
knee
see
and
that.
then falls into Ethan
Yeah.
Page? Shawn Michaels does love bringing back moments from his past
Yes, he
and
does.
using them on NXT. We
Yeah.
saw that with Roxanne losing her smile, but I really did enjoy this main event. I just enjoy like because people were talking about the finish a lot. I just enjoyed like the whole like story of the match where Trick was playing defense the whole time. Where
Mm,
even though Trick and Javon Evans are friends, like they're
mm,
still willing to do whatever it takes to
mm.
win the title. I do think having it on Ethan Page is great because I mean I don't know if you caught the end of the show, but he did appear.
Yes,
So
he did.
Hendry was there. So I do see that as a eventual direction. I also see Javon Evans getting a singles match for the NXT title against Ethan Page. I think that's
Yeah.
ultimately where it goes. And hopefully maybe he doesn't win then, but like I do hope Javon Evans gets the NXT title because he's been absolutely unbelievable. He's 20 years old and he is unbelievable in the ring.
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily have to win the NXT title during his run, but it would be a big statement to have like a guy that age win the NXT title. And then I just think WWE could benefit from having a guy that's like super young on their roster. And I would be like, give him 2 to 3 years, 23 years old. He's on the main roster. Like he'll be
Yeah.
unbelievable and he'll be a huge star.
Yeah, I agree. He is a huge star. He's so good. I don't think he needs the title right now. Um, I think he's getting over as it is. So I was happy they put on Ethan Page. Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry is going to be.
Impact.
It's fine. You know, like I like Ethan Page, but he just feels so bland to me. Like I don't I don't know. I gotta see more. I gotta see more. What's the story? Because the names themselves don't do anything for me.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why he had to stop at NXT before like
Yeah,
jumping on the main roster. He's clearly got some work to do to like develop that character. And
yeah.
I think he can do it. I don't think it's like I
I think it's a
completely
more
out
of
of
a
the realm of
product of bad
possibility.
booking.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm very curious to see how this Ethan Page NXT title run goes because I think he has a lot of potential, but he's also been around for a really long time. And after a certain point, like
Yeah.
when is the potential going to be realized? So
Yes.
I think this is your chance to prove yourself in NXT. And if you're still bland, if you're still someone that people aren't really interested in, I don't see a long future for him in WWE.
Um, Real quick, you want to talk about Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka?
This is what there's a lot of discourse on this match. I don't know if you've heard. There's
Yeah,
been a
it's
lot of
the
talk
same
about
as
it.
the Osprey and
Same
Ricochet.
as Osprey Ricochet. Here's what I'll say. People are I feel like people are being a little disingenuous about this.
Oh, shocking! People are
Yeah,
shocked.
exactly. People of the wrestling will be so people were like raving about this match, and they were also quick to say, without really seeing a lot of discourse. Now, I'm sure people were saying it, but like people were like, I really enjoy this match. And if you're an AEW fan and you don't like this match, you're a hypocrite because Will Ospreay does this every single week.
Yeah.
And they referenced the Will Ospreay Ricochet match. There's not a lot of talk about the other side where like um how do I say it? Like liked like people who like this match are quick to hate on AEW and say
Yeah.
all their stuff has no psychology, but yet they look at this match
Yeah.
and they say, look at the athleticism. This is a fantastic match. So I feel like they're being hypocritical in that sense where they're praising this match. They're giving it a bunch of love. And I'll say this, the athleticism is off the charts. These two women are unbelievable athletes. They're doing insane things in the ring that I
So
couldn't even
Ruka
fathom doing.
specifically, I think, is a huge star. I mean, Kalani's
Oh yeah.
great too. I just haven't seen her enough. I've seen Sol Ruka's matches a little bit. She's going to be up there with the Charlottes, the Strattons, like the bet. Like she's going to be top. She's going
She
to be a big
already
player.
she already has a huge fan base. And that's the thing. She's still super Kalani Jordan too. They're both super young. So they have
Yeah.
plenty of time to, develop that in-ring psychology or whatever. They have tons of time to develop their in-ring
Yeah.
persona, character, their
Yeah.
psychology, whatever they want, storylines, getting work on the mic. They have tons of time. So I'm not even worried about that. And I thought they delivered. Like it
Mm.
was clearly they delivered on the match. I'm not going to argue that. My thing is, I don't care if it's Will Ospreay Ricochet or Sol Ruka Kalani Jordan. It's just not the wrestling I'm into. I'm not
Interesting.
into the routine, like gymnastics stuff. I'm not in, like, again, it's
Yeah.
impressive athleticism and I can admire it for that standpoint. But we were just talking about Cena Edge and Cena Punk. Those are story driven matches.
Yeah.
I'm all about the story.
Yes.
Maybe they didn't nail every single spot head on. And again, we've talked about Cena not being the most polished in-ring worker, but you know what he could do? He could get you invested in his matches.
Yep.
He was always great at that. And that's what I'm look for when it comes to and Will Ospreay and Ricochet was from years ago. Like the thing is, this isn't a commentary on Will Ospreay now because Will Ospreay has developed those skills in the 8 years since that Will Ospreay Ricochet match. Even
Yeah.
Ricochet has developed some of those skills over the past 8 years. So that's why I have no concerns about Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan doing the same thing. It's just for me personally, when it's just a bunch of athleticism, whatever, it can be difficult for me to get into the match if there's no story surrounding.
I'm going to be consistent and say I like that match, and I like everything Will Ospreay does. So I'm a fan. Listen, I like athleticism, so I had no issues with it. I thought it was a great match. Honestly, I wouldn't have even noticed if I didn't see it online that it was the same choreography.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And that's the thing. Like, if you like that stuff,
Yeah.
great, because they're still going to do it. And clearly,
Yeah.
there's the modern wrestling fan who does like that type of match. So I'm
Yeah.
not here to poo poo on anyone's parade.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
for me
Don't yuck my
personally,
yum, Will.
I'm just saying personally, it's not my cup of tea of wrestling.
Fair enough. And you know what? That's okay. We can have different opinions and like different things, but we all like wrestling, and that's why we're all fans.
That's right.
That's right. One team, one dream. Speaking of Will Ospreay and All Elite Wrestling, let's talk a little bit about that. Cue the clip last week where I said, "What the hell are they doing with MJF as the top babyface?" Because boy, did they listen to us. Apparently,
Yes.
this week on AEW, finally they came to their senses and they said, "Oh, we're turning MJF back heel because that's what he's the best at." And thank God they attacked Daniel Garcia in the main event at Dynamite, left him a bloody mess. He then cut a promo on Collision, and ran down a bunch of people, including most notably Will Ospreay. So MJF, once again, the top heel in AEW where he should be. Thank the Lord. I love this was the only decision they should have made. Yeah, I'm happy for MJF to be the devil again.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing. I do like the idea that AEW does listen to us. And AEW, if you're watching, thank you. You know what? You are the best
For
wrestling
better,
promotion. I love you
yeah,
so much. Give me a job as a commentator,
yeah,
please. Now, get serious. I do think this was eventually just paying attention to the week to week storylines. I do think that this was where the plan was all along for MJF
yeah,
to eventually turn heel. I think they just wanted to get the Long Island match out of the way because it's in his hometown. He's going to get
yeah,
the babyface reaction anyway. It would be weird if he turned heel immediately after
yes,
he came back and then went to Long Island where he was just this crazy babyface.
yeah.
So I think they wanted to get that out of the way, and then now they pulled the trigger on him being heel. And again, now we're off to the races. Will Ospreay, MJF at All In, I assume is going to be the match, maybe for the international championship.
Mm.
And I think again, that's another match that is you don't even really have to do anything for the build, but the build is going to be incredible because MJF is great at storytelling. He's one of the best storytellers in that company.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in that company, if not the world right now.
Yeah.
So taking those two and putting it together, I think we're in for some solid stuff.
And another thing I'd like to point out that the MGF heel turn did was it made me care about Daniel Garcia. And I said last week, I was like, why do I care that Will Ospreay's wrestling? Because up to this point, the only thing Daniel Garcia was known for was like humping the air. And now he's got a story, thank God. So it accomplished the two things I talked about last week. We got MJF heel, and it made me care about Daniel Garcia. So good job, Tony Khan. You did it. And the other part of all of this that I think allowed for them to make this decision at this point in time to turn MJF back into a heel is they also have another heel on the roster now. Well, back on the roster. We got the return of Hangman Page, who you called last week as the wild card against Jeff Jarrett.
We got something right around here.
We got something right. Hangman Page is back in a heel role, a very more aggressive Hangman Page, who beat Jeff Jarrett in his first match of the Owen Hart Heritage Tournament, whatever it's called. And then he would go on to beat Jay White at Collision. So now this coming Wednesday, tomorrow, we're going to get Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson in the finals, which should be a great match. And or no, excuse me, Hangman Page and someone else to face Bryan Danielson, right?
No, does Danielson, did he make the finals yet?
Yes.
Or,
wait,
okay.
I have it. It's
then it is.
It's Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson in the finals this week.
Okay.
Winner faces Swerve Strickland.
Right. So I do love, like, that was the thing. What was our one complaint last week? AEW doesn't have enough heels right now. Well, now they have two main event heels. So good for them for, really like capitalizing on that and trying to, figure out this roster where now we have two main event heels, and now you have two main event matchups. Because I do think Hangman is winning the tournament. I do
Yeah.
think Hangman is going to face Swerve. Hangman cut an unbelievable promo on Collision. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
Him with the bloodied up face and like he invaded my house and like they still loved him for it. Like that is the kind of Hangman I'm looking for. And I put it on Twitter. I'm like, give this guy the title at Wembley.
Yeah.
Like Hangman, heel Hangman, where he's just like, take no prisoners. I don't care who is in my way. He wasn't even like, he's not even in the elite. Like he made it clear, like, I don't like you guys. I
Yeah.
don't want
He's not
anything to do with
affiliating
you.
with the heels.
He's just badass.
He's just justified.
Yeah. It's one of those things where he's just a bad guy. He's justified in his actions, but he's just a badass, which
Yeah.
is what I've wanted to see from Hangman for a while.
Yeah. Completely
And
agree.
I'm glad that he's back. He's definitely a missed presence on the show.
Yeah, I like Hangman Page a lot. I agree. I didn't understand the whole, like, I think one of the things that, for better or worse, Tony Khan and the AEW creative team does is they do listen to the fans almost too much. Because with the whole Hangman Swerve program, like, you did have Swerve break into his house and do all these things that he's talking about. So, like, really horrible things. And then they made him the biggest baby face in the company,
Right.
Which to me just never made any sense. And I love Swerve as a wrestler. I think he's great, but I think he's a better heel in the same way that MJF is. So I sympathize with Hangman in this situation here. I get that Swerve's the baby face and Hangman's the heel, but if you ask me, Hangman's correct. Like, as far as the story goes, like, Swerve's kind of the asshole.
Yeah, I do think that's the one thing I'm going to be looking for. If they really want to make the storyline work, Hangman needs to go to that level against Swerve. And like, because then because you're right, he will be justified if he does something just as dastardly as Swerve. But because of what we've seen with Swerve over the past 6 months of him being this big time baby face, I think people will be like, oh, like, God, look at Hangman. Like, he's just terrible person, whatever. And then I'm sure at some point Hangman will be face. And then, it's just how AEW kind of is. But I'm looking forward to see this program along with the Will Ospreay MJF program.
Yeah. So right now, all in, penciled in, we assume Swerve Strickland defending the AEW World Championship against Hangman Adam Page. We assume Will Ospreay defending the AEW International Championship against MJF. And we assume Mercedes Moné defending the TBS Championship against the returning Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Last thing before we wrap this show up, what do we think about this whole Mercedes and DMD program?
I think it's great. I was a little off on the perception that like the Mercedes being heel was like a one-time thing. I think they're running with it. I think it wasn't just the one Celtics fan. They decided that, you know what, Mercedes is a better heel and you're going to have DMD as the face. I thought Britt Baker was awesome on the mic, like, because she was definitely getting in some good shots. She's a little like one-dimensional in her tone.
Yeah.
But the content that she had was unbelievable. And she was definitely going back and forth. I like the idea, though, that what they teased a little bit was when they had the Young Bucks backstage being like, let's get the balloons out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you have Mercedes Moné come out and with the Young Bucks kind of by her side, not like to the ring, but like she's like clearly in cahoots with the Young Bucks. I do like the idea of a team where it's the Young Bucks, Okada, and Mercedes Moné as the CEO, and they're just like running roughshod over AEW. I do hope we get more of that interaction.
She fits in perfectly over there.
Like her and Okada in a mixed tag, like that would just be unbelievable. You could put her against anyone.
You could almost put her against Britt Baker and maybe a returning husband, Adam Cole, baby.
It'd be interesting. Because here's the thing about Adam Cole, like whatever you say about the past 5 months, if he comes back and they just decide to make him babyface, no one's going to complain.
Oh, 100%.
Everyone loves Adam Cole. They know the Adam Cole, the person. So they're going to ignore the whole devil thing and be like, we love you, Adam Cole. And especially if he comes back in that fashion where it's against Okada.
Yeah.
Okada and Adam Cole. Are you kidding me? Like, I'll sign me up.
here's the thing with Adam Cole too. Number one, I think whatever Britt is, he is, right? So if Britt's your big baby face, I think he's also the big baby face. But the other part of it too is when we last left off with him, yes, he was the devil attacking MJF, but MJF is a heel now. That story's dead in the water. So like,
That's true.
like one of that, to me, that's going to go down as like one of those storylines that just never gets a conclusion because things happen, because people got hurt. So I do think when Adam Cole comes back, I do think he's a babyface. I think he interacts with the United Kingdom, right? Undisputed Kingdom, right? So back with Roddy and Kyle and Matt Taven and Mike Bennett and all them. But I could see him becoming a face and working with Roddy over MJF.
Sure. Why not?
Why not? All right, Will. Anything else from this week you want to talk about?
I feel like I had something on my mind, but you know what? If I think of it, we'll just discuss it next week. Here's what I'm excited about is the fact that we have our Instagram page running right now.
Woo!
At Real Top Rope Takes, where you can find all of our clips and any sort of podcast notifications. So definitely follow us on Instagram at Real Top Rope Takes. You, of course, follow me on Instagram at Willie.thrill. And of course, Jason, I'm sure you'll plug your Instagram as well.
You can find me on Instagram at JMAR320. That's JMAR320.
You see down below our official names.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to this week. Let's see what happens with all these great storylines, and we'll definitely have more content coming the way, maybe Cena related.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean,
we'll have to see.
Now would be the time for it, is all I'm saying.
Exactly. So stay tuned for that. And I appreciate everyone who's been supporting. This is not stopping anytime soon. We're on a runaway train right now.
That's right. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us and listening to another episode. We will see you guys next week.